Chapter 26, Fluid and Electrolytes. 60% of the adult human body is water. We call that total body water, or TBW. There are three main compartments or components of total body water. The first is intracellular fluid. That is this fluid within the cells. The second is interstitial fluid, and that's the fluid between the cells. It's outside the blood vessels. It's between the cells, the tissues, and the organs. And this includes the lymph and the cerebrospinal fluid. The third is plasma volume. This is the fluid that's within the blood vessels, but it is not the blood components themselves, the red blood cells, white blood cells, platelets, all of that. It's actually the plasma. There's several ways to look at the total body water. We can look at it in terms of vascular fluids, or we can look at it in terms of cellular fluids. Looking at it vascularly, it's either intravascular, meaning the plasma volume, or it's extravascular, meaning it is outside the blood vessels. That's the interstitial fluid and the intracellular fluid. We can look at it from a point of view of the cells. It's either inside the cells or it's outside the cells. Outside the cells, that's your plasma and interstitial fluid, or inside the cells, it's inside the cells. And that's what this particular diagram is talking about. It's talking about, you see the intracellular fluid in the yellow. It's part of the intracellular component, but it's also part of the extravascular component. The interstitial fluid can be extracellular or extravascular. And the plasma volume is extracellular and it's intravascular. 2/3 of the total body water in an adult is intracellular. It's inside the cells itself. Only 1/3 of it is extracellular. When you break that down further, plasma volume is only 1/3 of that 1/3 extracellular fluid volume, which makes it only about 11% of the total body water is plasma. 22% of the total body water is interstitial fluid. The body has a preferred concentration or dilution in the blood and tries to maintain it. It either pulls fluid into the blood vessels because it sees that the blood is too thick, or it pushes fluid out of the blood vessels because it sees that the fluid is too thin. What pulls fluid and keeps it in the vascular space, within the blood vessels? High concentrations of something. When the blood vessels and the body see that, hey, we have this stuff that's thick enough to be maple syrup, it's so concentrated, it pulls fluid from the different spaces into the vascular space. What does all this? Proteins, which we call colloids, is the primary force. But sodium and other solutes will do it as well in the short term. Plasma proteins exert a constant osmotic pressure. That's called colloid oncotic pressure, and it pulls fluid into the blood vessels. When we look at imbalance, we can look at, is it a volume imbalance or is it a component imbalance? A volume loss, that's loss in the total body water, that comes from hemorrhage or it comes basically from dehydration. A component loss by itself, yeah, we can do it with hemorrhage, and we'll get a volume loss as well. But just a component loss itself would be a breakdown of the blood components, like anemia. It would also include bone marrow suppression, where these components are not even being made. So how does fluid get into the body? Well, it gets into it by mouth. We drink it, and remember, we've got the first pass effect. It's got to get digested and absorbed before it can get to the blood vessels and tissues. Or it gets into the body by IV.